Hi, everybody. This is Patty. It is Friday morning here in Miskolc or Alschulte. I'm not in Miskolc. And it's 2 degrees Celsius, which means it's just a little above freezing. And that's pretty chilly outside. And I just wanted to come and today talk a little about finances. I am a bookkeeper and I was an accounting assistant. I was also a personal assistant to a lawyer, so I know about estate accountings and a lot about accounting because I went to an accounting school and worked for the chief financial officer of a museum for a while. And one of the things I know that people struggle with is managing money. And so often they're just blindsided by unexpected expenses that they haven't been able to prepare for. And my dad one time said the only time he ever was able to save money is when his children left home, because we were always asking for financial assistance. And that it's a ongoing problem that people have. But what do you do when there's no one to turn to and you've spent your last dollar or foreign or euro? Well, I go to the Lord in prayer, and I want to share a time in my life when I really struggled. And there was more than one time, but we were like, why do we have to go through this? Well, because God wants you to trust in Him for all your provision. He meets all our needs according to His riches in glory, and He has the cattle on 1,000 hills. That's a lot of land and a lot of beef. So, folks, when you are struggling, go to the Word for encouragement and put it to prayer. But also, you need to be proactive in managing your money better. Some things are out of our control if you get sick and have a sudden expense, but some things are in our control. You don't need a Mercedes Benz to get to work. So, and one of the things I have done this year is I stopped driving and I take taxis, and people say, isn't that expensive? Well, it's also expensive to maintain a car and put gas in it. We still have one car, but we used to have two. And then there was the insurance. So sometimes we change our lifestyle, and that can increase or decrease our costs. And those are things that we have to put in a budget. And I listen to Dave Ramsey and his daughter sometimes, and they have some good advice. And one thing his daughter said one day was she adjusts her budget every month. I was very excited to hear that because that's what I do. I look and see what I did last month and I adjust accordingly. So if I had a big expense like a dental bill, then there's other things I'm not going to buy. And we're not going to go shopping at the hardware store right after we paid a big dentist bill. And also, there's things in the US that are a lot more expensive than they are here in Hungary, but the income is different too. So people have asked me, what do you think of the Hungarian medical system? I like it. It costs less. Even with the language barrier, the only thing, my husband was in the hospital last year. He hated the food, but the food isn't that great in the US hospitals either. So there's a give and take. But for one example, in the United States, we went to a dentist and we kept going and he kept calling us back and he kept doing tests or molds and he wouldn't give us a concrete answer on what it was going to cost to fix my husband's teeth. My husband had lost several teeth in the back of his mouth and he'd gotten to the point where he was chewing all of his food with his front teeth, which was wearing them down. So the situation had gone from bad to worse, and we had to do something. And I couldn't get the dentist to tell me what it was going to cost so I could budget it. I like to know the bottom line so I can make a plan. So I asked his assistant, how much is a root canal? How much is a crown? How much is a bridge? I would just go ask her one at a time. And I sat the last visit in the dentist's office as the dentist was going over the long range plan for my husband, which was going to take a couple of years. And we walked out of the office, and in my brain, I was adding up the numbers because the dentist still hadn't given us a piece of paper with it written down. I got in the car and I said, David, It's going to be over $30,000 to fix your teeth. And what we told the dentist was, because he had us set for another appointment, we called him, we said, we're getting ready to take a trip and we'll consider all this when we get back. We didn't go back. And we came to Hungary. That was one of the first things I asked for. I said, David needs to go to the dentist. And I found out in our planning that a lot of people come to Europe to get their teeth fixed. They take a vacation and come to different countries in Europe because dental care costs a lot less. But you know what? The quality is just as good, if not better. We go to a company in Mishko, it's called President, and they treat us like we're in the Oval Office. I have to say that. And I really appreciate what Dr. Boda has done to fix my teeth and the other doctors there. I can't remember all their names, but David loves Dr. Esther. That's her first name. And they have just done really well by us because after he got it, all of the work done he needed to be able to eat in the back of his mouth, he might still need some future work. It was $6,000, not 30,000. And they did it very quickly. And it took a few months, not a few years. Because when you get implants, that's another cost that he had. You have to wait a few months, but you don't have to wait years. And then I had my teeth fixed and I needed a couple, I lost a couple and I got a bridge. And that wasn't cheap, but it wasn't outrageous either. And then I have dental disease, so I have to get my gums cleaned. So that's my dentist story. And mine didn't cost anywhere near as much as David's. And I'm very happy now that my smile is back. I don't have a gap over on this side where I lost a tooth anymore. And my front teeth are fixed. I had a crack. So I'm very happy with the dental care. And I'm very appreciative that the medical profession really helped David get his health back from having a bad bout with diabetes. So I may have to make this in two videos because I also want to get back to my financial talk, which is that was all about medical. So if you are managing finances and you have this unexpected expense that you can't prepare for, I have ways to deal with that because I went through a lot of financial problems a long time ago. When we were first married, we bought a house. One time we couldn't pay our bills because my husband suddenly lost a job. My parents took me to the store and they wanted to show me this expensive piece of furniture they wanted to buy me for Christmas, and I just burst out crying. What's wrong? I said, we're going to lose our house. Don't buy me that. I won't have a place to put it. And my mother said, get out the checkbook, honey. And she rescued us. I didn't ask for that, but I'm glad that she was able to do that. And we were able to pay back the money later. And on some occasions, she might give us some money and we didn't have to pay it back. But that was one rescue that was really a blessing. And and I would pray about things like that when money would get bad and God would provide in a miraculous way. And we never did lose our home. There was another time when income went down and things were dangerous, and I would have to scrutinize everything we spent. But I also learned, because I worked in a law office, that you can do good faith payments. So these are the things I want to educate you about. If you pay a bill, even though the credit card company might say they need $50 every month or whatever, if you send them $5 every month or just 1,000 for it, whatever currency you're using, every single month on time, without fail, and you write them a little note and say you're struggling and this is all you can afford, they will accept that in most cases. And then they won't be fussing at you and calling you and harassing you all the time for a payment. Now, not every business does that, but some are willing to work with people who have a sudden hardship. And many people are having a hardship with the price of gas going up. So I just recommend that as an alternative. And another thing is to defer a payment. And so if you have a car payment and you suddenly have a cash flow issue, you can call that company and say, can I tack that on the end of my payments? And many companies will allow you to do that. Of course, they charge you for that, so it makes them some money. But you know what? It's a way to get by during that time. And people know that we're in all different circumstances at different times. And I'm blessed now that we don't have that struggle. But I always want to turn to the Lord before I make big financial decisions so that I don't get myself in a bad situation on purpose. So we don't need to be extravagant. We can be frugal. We can still enjoy life and take a trip here and there. And I say, when I budget, I plan for a vacation so that when I go, it's already paid for. And I don't have that buyer's remorse. People at Christmas time will spend, spend, spend on their credit card. And then later they're going, why did I do that? Do I need all these things? And when you get to my age in life, you look around the house and go, I don't need to dust anything else. So if you have more questions about finances, I would encourage you to write me your question or situation. And even if you want to be a little bit anonymous, I may be able to help you and give you some ideas on how to manage that. And I can certainly help you set up a budget if you really want to have a meeting with me and a Zoom call one-on-one. I do charge a fee if I help people, but I put that in the budget so they can afford to pay the fee. I want to thank you for listening, and I hope that you will like and share my videos so I can grow this channel because I have a lot of things I want to share with a lot of people. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.